Howdy everyone, Pocher here with an Age of Magic video. In today's video we are going to go over the rogue for the Children of the Forest, Stealthy. We're going to go over her stats, her abilities, and a bit of a run through of her in Arena and see what she's like. So let's jump into it. So going over Stealthy's stats, she has hit points 1.7 million. So a bit higher than some mages, but not super high. So she's quite squishy. But what can you do? It's a rogue. It's a small rabbit rogue. She's not going to be a tank. She's speed is 218. Not horrible. Not the best we've seen. Armor 14k, so that's low. Magic damage resistance 21k. Basic damage 164k. Critical hit chance 35, which is quite high. And critical damage is 328. So she is capable of doing a bit of damage. And as usual, here are the more in-depth stats. If you want to pause it and have a look at any of those, feel free to do so. So now we are going to jump into the arena, look at her abilities and what her animations look like. So looking at Stealthy's basic attack, take this, damages one target, triggers the rogue class mark, has a 20% chance to perform a support attack on the same target per provoked ally. So pretty alright for a basic attack. We're going to go ahead and look at the animation against the enemy. Abaddon hits for 360k, pretty decent damage for a support attack. But the issues you've got here is you're versing teams with tanks. The two most prominent teams that use tanks are obviously Blue Artists with Magnus and Dark Elves with Drake. Now your issue with this ability is, are the Children of the Forest going to be able to take on either of those teams? Dark Elves, who knows, because their defense is so weak. Archons, I can't see her being effective against the Archons. Anyway, that's a basic attack. We'll move on to her next special. So looking at Stealthy's first special ability is Bolus Throw. It triggers the rogue class mark. Again, damages one target, has a 20% chance per Woodland Guardian ally to reduce the target speed by 35% for 2 turns. If the target already has reduced speed, then that effect is increased by 1 turn. So it potentially has the chance of having a 3-turn speed decrease. 35% isn't horrible. The next part of the ability, if the target can't hide from attacks, Stealthy blocks them, receiving bonus initiative for 2 turns. So blocking initiative is always good. Let's go ahead and have a look at what the ability looks like. Alright, pretty cool. She just throws her bolus. That's pretty much it. Doesn't do a lot of damage, that one, but she didn't crit that time, and as you can see, the speed is reduced. It's a good ability. The issue we're having now is that you're getting characters such as Roynar, I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head, who have such AoE abilities that can do the exact same thing. In terms of damage, you want damages that do a lot of damage single target, that can eliminate targets quickly. AoE is pretty good depending on the effects of the AoE, like Roynar, for example. But when you have an ability like this that does it to one target, it's hard to really relate unless the character itself gets boosted up by the faction, which again will depend on Pride, for example. The druids, when they get reworked, how strong this character can truly be. At the moment, I hope it's a she. I really don't know. I'm just going to say it's a she. She is focusing on one target. She doesn't really have any massive AoE abilities that can debuff multiple targets. It's all focusing on one, which isn't horrible, especially if you're getting those higher numbers. Like 35% isn't bad, but yeah, that's the downfall at the moment. How useful is she going to be against some of these teams that can just pummel through, just apply debuffs to everyone, that can damage everyone, just all those types of things. But she's a rogue, so it makes sense that she is more focused to single target. Anyway, we'll move on to her second special now. Moving on to the second special, we have Blow from the Shadow. Triggers the rogue class mark, damages one target, hides for 2 turns, which is always good. If damage output is increased by a buff, then damage done by this ability increases by 30%. So that is quite a lot of damage, potentially. If she has a damage buff already, then she's going to get an extra 30% on top of that. If the target can't hide from attacks, they miss 2 turns. So we're going to use it on Worm Priest. He is going to miss 2 turns if we hit him, and this ability potentially could do a lot of damage, so we'll go ahead and see what it is. So a 540k crit. Again, she doesn't have the damage buff on her, So potentially, what's that? 540k, 30% on top of that. That's 30, 60, 90, 150, an extra 150k damage potentially with the extra buff for damage from the buff itself. So that could be a very hard hitting ability under the right circumstances. Hiding, awesome, easily removed by certain characters in the game. Royna, for example. But it's not a bad thing to be able to hide yourself, especially having a character with such low health. Hiding is always good. We'll move on to her passive now and see what that is capable of. So moving on to her passive, amazingly agile. Stealthy deals 35% more damage if her speed is increased. Stealthy deals 35% more damage if she is hidden. Stealthy performs a support attack if the target is affected by a debuff that stops them hiding. So again, if she has the right set of buffs on her, and she could potentially do a lot of damage. So I don't understand how the support attack works. So Stealthy performs a support attack if the target is affected by a debuff that stops them hiding, which they have a debuff on them. So let's go ahead and attack Abaddon. So she attacks, but she doesn't attack again. Does she support attack with someone else? Is that how it works? There you go. Okay. So the support attack is followed up while an ally attacks. She can't support attack herself. That makes sense. So as long as an ally attacks, and that's not restricted to Children of the Forest, it appears that she can do that with anyone. Even though that was lucky, it doesn't say in the description that it works only with Children of the Forest. So potentially could be a big damage dealer with the right setup. Unfortunately, at the moment, I don't think Sabretooth and Softy are part of the new Guardians of the Forest Brotherhood coming out. At the moment, it is only Stealthy. So I believe Pride will be part of it. Who else? Not sure yet. Assuming the Guardians as well. The Guardians, the Druids, when they get their rework, which was in the patch notes. Apparently that's coming out in the next patch. Fingers crossed. That's probably going to be the new thing. The Guardians and Stealthy will be the big damage dealer of that. So overall, I don't know. I would need to see her in a ideal situation where she's got all these buffs and getting that massive damage increase and everything put together, and how much damage she could do. We saw that without anything, she was hitting a 500k crit. So it could probably potentially be one of the strongest damaging abilities in the game if everything lines up like I said. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. I'll answer it to the best of my ability. And wherever you are in the world, until next time, please take care of yourself.